Here at Pondering Politics, we love to talk to interesting people, and I've been wanting to talk to this man for quite some time. He is the senator for Arizona in the Democratic Party, Ruben Gallego. Senator, how are you, sir?
Good, man.
Good, good. Well, listen, I know there's a lot going on. First, I want to congratulate you and your party on the blue wave, which manifested. It just swamped the Republicans. Trump admitted to it on live TV that it was not good for the Republicans. How do you feel about the election, what it means for the future of your party, and specifically Latino voters?
I mean, it feels good. It's got to feel good to win. And Democrats kind of haven't had that feeling in a while. And I think we all saw that this was coming. We kind of saw all these like special elections where there was like these little inklings of success coming. But to see it and to firmly stamp that, yeah, we're winners again is a big deal. It also is good because I had this feeling and sense and just kind of conversations with a lot of working class Latinos, my own family, that Latinos were going to swing back towards the Democratic brand because they were pissed about what's happening. They're pissed about the cost of living because it's expensive, and Latinos are largely very, very much working class, and they get affected disproportionately when prices continue to go up. And number two, these ICE raids are creating a big backlash among moderate Latinos that were probably okay with immigration going after criminals, but now they don't like the fact that they're being racially profiled. They don't like the fact that Stephen Miller, essentially calls our whole community a bunch of, criminals and says that we're not contributing to society. And I had a sense from really conversations again with working class men, Latino men, that this was going to show up in election results, and this is the first time that we actually had enough of a massive amount of data to prove it, and ends up being good.
Well, it seems to be putting it mildly that the Trump administration has taken Latino voter support for granted. And again, that's in the most mild of terms.
Yeah,
Let me ask you, were you surprised by the extent, the margins of yesterday's blue wave, which again manifested itself in the New York City mayoralty race, in Virginia and New Jersey?
yeah.
Were you surprised at how big you guys won?
I was surprised. I thought we were going to win by impressive margins in Virginia, New Jersey. I thought Mandani was going to do well also. I thought we were going to do very well in the Supreme Courts of Pennsylvania
Mm-hmm.
and that, Prop 50. But I didn't realize how big it was until about like 8:30 p.m. because I was campaigning up in New Jersey last week uh, for
Mikey
Mickey.
Sherrill?
Yeah, I'll call it La Mickey. That's what we the Latinos call her. So I was campaigning for La Mickey, and I had some inclination like this was not going to be like a 5 point victory. I thought it was going to be closer like to 10ish or 7 to 10, not what we saw here. So it's a credit to her as a candidate, but I gotta tell you, it's a credit to the volunteers, Democratic volunteers who've taken a lot of shit all year, who had to have to deal with the ups and downs of what's happening. They still went out there and they really hit it hard and hit those doors hard. I went to rally after rally. I met volunteers, went door to door with some volunteers, and it's really the Democratic volunteer that won it yesterday. Great candidates, but the Democratic-based volunteer really, really stepped up, and that's the reason why you see these victories. By the way, we picked up seats in Mississippi that broke their supermajority. We saw victories all over this country that we should not normally have seen, which tells you that there is something kind of, burning underground right now.
Yeah, I mean, it says something again. Donald Trump was speaking to your Republican colleagues today, and he admitted, I mean, it wasn't good. I mean, when Trump, who is the most famous election denier, perhaps barring your former opponent, Kerry Lake, in U.S. history, when he's admitting on live TV that they got their asses kicked, that says something. I do
Yeah.
want to pivot to the government shutdown, speaking of ass kicking, because one of the other things that Trump, again, just admitted during this meeting, it's going viral now, is the Republicans are losing the messaging war and the polling war with respect to the government shutdown. Americans recognize that it is Trump and the Republicans who are causing this. Now, at the
Yeah.
same time, we're starting to hear reporting that perhaps some of your more moderate colleagues are looking to offer their votes to the Republican majority. Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries wrote a letter, really funny letter actually, to Trump and ended it with "Thank you for your attention to this matter," saying that they would meet with him. So I just want to get your take on where we stand with the shutdown. It's now the largest in American history. What's your stance on this?
Look, my stance is that I care about the cost of living. And right now, the most direct thing that we can do to make sure the cost of living doesn't affect 24 million American families is that we renew the ACA extension. It's very simple, right? And I need to use every leverage I can to make sure that 24 million Americans, hundreds of thousands of Arizonans, do not see their insurance rate premiums double overnight. And this is a hard situation. Like, I don't want to be in this situation. I know what this is doing, but I know also what's going to happen, when we have 24 million Americans that suddenly have to pay $200, $300, $400. We've heard families having to pay $1,000 more just to keep the same insurance they have right now. And I think the reason we're winning is because the American public understands that we're in a hard situation. They understand that we are making a very hard decision. But I think they appreciate the fact that we're actually showing leadership, that we're showing that we have a spine, and we're willing to work for people's everyday pocketbook, and we're willing to sacrifice for that to happen in terms of political sacrifice, getting dunked on, everything else like that. But at the end of the day, we have clear direction of what we need to do, which is take care of people's pocketbooks. And this is why the Republicans are owning the shutdown. They're continuing to own the shutdown in terms of the blame for it. And I think it's only going to get worse now that premiums are actually coming up and people are starting to have to decide what type of insurance they're going to buy.
Yeah, I think it says something that, say, Republicans obviously said all sorts of things about President Biden, but when he had both unified and divided control of government, there was never a shutdown on Biden's watch. I do want to just close the loop on this. Does the fact that, and now this is again going viral, that Trump is admitting that they're getting their asses kicked on the shutdown, do you think that that will reinvigorate your party's position on this, like your resolve to say we are not going to just bend the knee to you without meaningful concessions regarding people's health care?
Well, I hope that's not the case, because I think what should be really motivating us is that everyday person. I mean, like, the average salary in Arizona for a family is close to $70,000, right? Family of three or family of four. Um, if you raise the insurance premiums on that type of family, you're putting them in a very bad spot. Most Americans can't actually deal with a surprise bill or a big change to the personal family budget. And everything you see right now is expensive. I have three kids, love them to death, and they are eating me through a grocery bill. They love their vegetables, they love their fresh fruit. And I noticed the costs going up. Electricity is getting expensive. We're about to get into the winter season in the Northeast. Heating is going to be expensive, and now we're going to add one more extra cost when it comes to raising premiums. Like, people are still dealing with all the increase of last year. Plus, by the way, working class people, the way they've been able to survive a lot of this stuff is just by going into debt when it comes to credit cards, right? So right now, people are, paying higher prices, paying higher interest rates, and now, we're potentially going to add higher life insurance to their plate. That should be the primary motivator for Democrats, that we're taking care of them. If we take care of them, the politics will take care of itself. And let's not necessarily worry what Donald Trump is feeling or not feeling.
Fair enough. And then the last thing I want to talk about is your approach, your rhetoric. I've been singing your praises, particularly here lately, because I noticed when the Republicans were talking about giving military honors to Ashley Babbitt, who I believe was a traitor to this country. You called that out in ways, in terms I've never seen a Democratic politician do. Of course, you served your country as well, so it probably hit you particularly hard. But it wasn't just that. You were in an interview recently, and somebody was talking about some nonsense that Trump said, and you said, well, the president's an idiot. You have been very aggressive in your rhetoric. You confronted Mike Johnson, went viral for that, about the harm that Republicans are causing, not just Democratic constituents, but Republican constituents as well. There is an appetite within the Democratic base for leaders such as yourself and Gavin Newsom to, like, I love Andy Beshear. He was my former governor. He's the Mr. Rogers of politics. We need that.
Great guy.
But we also need people who are like, you know what? I'm going to give you a little taste of your own medicine and speak to Republican politicians in similar terms. So what has shaped your rhetoric? You're representing a purple state. Some might say, well, Senator Gallego, aren't you alienating Republicans in your state by being so harsh to the president and the speaker?
Oh, I've always been this way. So this is just how I am. And like, I'm not purposely trying to be an asshole or anything like that, right? It's just like I try to be my authentic self, and like when the moment demands it, that's when the moment demands it, right? And the little Trip Johnson, trying to block a duly elected friend of mine, by the way, who won the race overwhelmingly to protect a bunch of pedophiles. It needs to be said. There's too much, I would say, Trump splaining out there where people are trying to make Trump more of a genius than he actually is. And sometimes he just says and does stupid shit. And we should say it, right? We should not be afraid to say it. And it feels when someone puts me on the spot, asks me a question, it's harder for me to come up with a way to smooth out an answer that may end up being a lie when I should just go straight to the point. And I think Andy's got a different style. I think Andy's, has his moments too. I think Gavin's got his moments. And I think every Democrat needs to figure out how to get into this fight. It doesn't mean you all have to do it the way that I do it. Like, I grew up very differently than most people. I grew up poor, working class. I've been surrounded by people that are very straight and to the point, and then got to serve my country in the United States Marine Corps. I don't expect someone that doesn't have my same experience to have the same reactions to me, but they're going to be able to fight in a very different way. Another good example, for example, Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is as smooth as butter, right? That guy will get into it with you, and you will walk away not knowing that you're bleeding, right? He's got a very different kung fu style than I do. Eric Swalwell, another guy, one of my best friends. That guy, if you go toe to toe with him, he'll get you, right? And rhetorically, he will get you, and his media presence is massive. But again, we have very different styles, but we all have the same intention, which is to stop this man and make sure the Democratic issues win going forward.
Well, I'm going to give you the final word on this, Senator. If you just wanted to give my audience like one basic final message, involving the election, the shutdown, the future of the party, what would you like to leave my audience with?
Look, this is just kind of my experience, both in war as well as just in long campaigns. This is a long campaign. You need to think about it as such. There's going to be ups and downs all the way till the November 2026 elections, and then we'll take a little break, and then 2028. So preserve your energy, understand that this fight's going to keep going, but you need to kind of keep pushing through all the way through. If we do that, we win in 2026, and we have the first real check on this presidency, right? And then we have to keep that momentum going to 2028. So, take the victory that we got last night, enjoy that victory. Now you could, joy scroll instead of doom scroll. Yeah. That's fine. But you know what? Just be ready to get back in the fight whenever you can. Remember, victory, winning is good. It feels good. And it's okay for us to try to keep doing that, going into the future.
Yeah, it's a process, definitely. Well, Senator Gallego, thank you so much for your time. Good luck waging the fight, this righteous fight, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thanks, man.